Welcome back to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. And guys, listen, I'm so happy that you're joining me. And like we ask at all of episodes, please like, subscribe to the channels, any platform that you're on. And, most importantly, if you could take a few minutes out of your time, out of your day, go leave us a review on any of them, Spotify, Apple. It really helps us get this message out, or these messages out, I should say, to as many people as you can. And just, give free content to people. Those reviews are incredible. We like to improve. We love to hear what you guys got to say. And also, if you know somebody get value from this or could use this, send it to them, share it with them. Let's get this out as much as we can. And that's obviously if you get value of it from yourself. But without further ado, it's another solo episode. And I'm going to go in on something that's been really plaguing me here recently. And I say plaguing, it's not really that bad. It's not doom and gloom. But I think it's very important for people of, entrepreneurship, maybe people of business ownership, people of sports, people, influencers, whoever you are, right? How do you deal with the hate? You know what I mean? How do you deal with people that are jealous of you and that want to see your demise and that constantly hate? And if you follow any of my stuff locally, you know what I mean, or know me personally, then you know that, I'm constantly trying, I'm constantly getting hated on. Here in my area, we have, if you're not aware of it, we're on the eastern shore of Maryland. It's a little peninsula. We're more beach people than city people. And basically with us, it's not a very big area. You know what I mean? I mean, it's 3/4 surrounded by water. We're right on the border of Maryland and Delaware. You know what I mean? Salisbury is kind of considered the big city of Maryland, of the Eastern Shore. And, we're kind of the hub. Then you have Ocean City that's, 30 minutes east of us. And then about an hour west of us, you have, Cambridge and Easton. And that's pretty much it. You know what I mean? Give or take some smaller towns in there, but it's not a big area. Okay. And, for the things that I've done, and I'm not trying to act like I'm all special or anybody, but the things that I've done, I'm literally, I put myself in positions where I open the door for ridicule, open the door for criticism. And I don't know why, but, I think that if you get on the internet, I think if you're, you've got a voice on the internet, especially if you're speaking a good message, you're opening the door for criticism and ridicule, right? It's funny, some of the posts that I put out that are really heartfelt and deliver a lot of value and a great message, barely get any kind of traction, right? Barely get very many shares, not many comments, likes, and so forth. The post that I put out that has some sort of rebuttal to some negativity or, speaks about something that, isn't always like a good positive message or something like that, that tends to be the one that performs so well, right? And that's just human nature. We're attracted to the drama. We're attracted to it. And I'll be honest with you, I hate the drama in one aspect, but I'm addicted to it and love it in another aspect, I'm in the combat sports business. I'm in the tough guy business. So, I want to defend myself. I want to stand up to the bullies. I want to, do all that stuff. So, and I'm old school, I'll be 45 this year. So there's a lot of, me wanting to, step into that space, but I refrain from doing it. I refrain from, getting on the internet and talking a bunch of crap, right? But because I'm so loud on social media and because I'm also, we've got a very successful business that we run. I've been associated with a couple of other successful businesses, I worked with the Maryland and Delaware Group's team for 5 years, Branden Brittingham. And he's got the #1 podcast in investing right now across the country. I mean, it's insane what he's done right here in our hometown. Good friend of mine, love him, love his partner, Rich Barr. And, they're really successful company. I had really no business in real estate, to be honest with you. I was an MMA guy, and I was going over there coaching and recruiting real estate agents, speaking on stages across the country and all kinds of crazy positions and things that I thought I would never be at, right? Our gym, like you guys have heard, we're partnered with Pure Fitness. Nick Taganpour, his father's Tony Taganpour. They had a huge play on bringing such a great facility and fitness atmosphere and industry and just being the innovators of this industry to our area, something we've never seen before. This was pre the bigger gym chains and like the Planet Fitness and stuff. And this is a very successful gym that we're in. It's a beautiful gym. It's a multi-million-dollar gym. And he's a very successful businessman as well. And, obviously SBY MMA and fitness, we've done a lot of great things that a lot of my competitors have not done. and that's just the bottom line. And it's not nothing that against anybody. I run my business and I do my thing the way that I understand it needs to be done, the way that I believe that it should be done. I'm big into personal development. I'm big into leadership. I know what combat sports has done for me. And I also understand the stigmas that plague the industry as well. Not everybody that does combat sports wants to compete and fight. Not everybody that does combat sports wants to get in the cage or in the ring or go to the jiu-jitsu tournament. And that's okay. The byproducts of combat sports alone, has changed many, many, many people's lives. I just got a text from a kid who I've bragged about many times. This kid had such a troubled youth. He came home one day from school and his father was dead. When he had a trouble with his mother, he's lived with the grandparents. He was a very bad student grade wise in the school system when he came to me, and he has literally sent me his report card today with straight A's. The kid's missed 8 excused absences all semester, all year, so forth, and it's senior night tomorrow, and he wants me to walk him down with senior night, and that's just one example of a young man that was able to do what we've done here and take that and add that to his personal life and excel in life. So why I'm saying all that is you're going to experience hate, and I get so much hate. Now, the interesting part about that is the hate that I get it from are just 2 sources, right? It's just 2 sources. It's 2 rival gyms, and we're not even rivals. I shouldn't even say that. It's 2 gyms in our area, right? One of them's been hating on me forever. He's been hating on me since he's had a chance. And the other ones have just recently decided they want to finally show their cards and start talking crap, right? And obviously, knowing my background and knowing the world that I was involved in, involved in, dealing drugs and, carrying guns and doing all that kind of stuff, right? There's a saying in that world called hood rich, right? You could be hood rich. And that's when, you're getting money in the streets and everybody knows you in that world and everybody's wanting to be next to that fire and wanting to be this and wanting to be that and all this. And I know that world. I knew what it was like to have people that would be on my dick just to want to, get close to me, or people that feared me, So they wanted to brown nose me, or people that were out to get me. So many different circumstances in that world. I'm not advocating for that world at all, but I understand what that life is. And that life prepared me for what was to come. Even when I was in jail, I was treated like I was somebody special, right? They were, the guards were bringing me their foods on the low because, I was cool and they heard me or they knew me or whatever the fact, and they knew I was eating healthy, right? So they would bring me their fruits and stuff that we couldn't get access to. The inmates were acting like I was some, big time guy because they either heard about me on the streets, heard about this company that I was started up with my cousin, the shoes company called Dead Stock, or heard about me in the cage, right? And, I'm not saying I was running the jails and all that shit. I'm not trying to come out here and act like I'm some, influencer trying to sell you on a story. I'm just saying at our local county jail that I spent 8 months in, you know what I mean? I didn't have any problems at all. It was kind of some fake facade. But what I'm trying to get to you is I'm used to the dick riding, or I'm used to the put you up on a pedestal shit. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't like to be idolized. I just want to be seen as a man. I want to be seen as a person, as a man. I don't need you to. I want other people to be the guy or the gal around me, not myself. But I bring that up because that's prepared me for the hate and prepared me for how these guys like to hate on me. And it's not just them. I still have, police officers that, have, sent messages to people that have been on my podcast that say, hey, why are you with that guy? He's doing this, he's doing that. Or they won't train with us because of what, and that's fine. That's okay. I made those decisions myself. I made those mistakes and those decisions. You got to live with that. You can't sit here and cry because somebody doesn't trust that you aren't their cup of tea. You got to live with the actions that you made. You got to live with that. Some people just aren't going to like you. But with these gyms, and we're not going against us versus them. What I'm trying to, my mission of this podcast is to show you people who are in a similar position, a leadership position, when you become successful and when you start doing things that other people can't do or haven't done, it's going to happen. You're going to get it. You're going to get the hate, whether you're fighting for a championship belt, whether you're running a business, whatever you do, it's going to come to you. And you got to know how to respond, right? And one thing that I do know is that in my previous life, it was a very dangerous world I was living in. But 99% of the shit that people would say about me, they would never do in real life. It was always like, you know, they would say one thing, and then when I see them, they would do another. And, you know, as 50 Cent said this one time, and I really connected with it too, because he was like, man, look, I'm stupid, right? I'm the type of guy that's got a lot to lose, but if you push me enough, I'll do something to you in public, right? And I really felt that because I have made mistakes with people, you know what I mean, and doing things in public. Now, again, I'll be 45 years old. I shouldn't even be thinking like that now. But old habits die hard, right? And it's hard to break the kind of mindset that you have when you're from that world, you know? But when you talk about like the hate that I receive now, you know, it's all straight jealousy. It's all people looking at me instead of looking at themselves. People, you got to understand, people will create you as the enemy because that's a reflection of the missteps and mishaps that they made in their lives. And they see that you're doing better than them. And they're so mad at themselves, they have to reflect and come at you. And it's subliminal, it's subconscious, excuse me. It's not something they even recognize that they're doing. They're not even aware, you know what I mean, that they're so insecure with themselves that they have to mirror that and project that onto you because you're out here breaking molds and doing something they haven't done. And, you know, I got to own my success. I've got to own the things that I've done. I'm a leader, right? My people that trust in me and believe in me and my brand and my company, they're not coming to get with a guy. They're not coming to learn from a guy who's not going to own his wins. See, in society, we've been conditioned to not celebrate our wins out loud because of the hate and criticism you receive from people online, people in your family, wherever, right? In other words, you know what I mean? If you're a winner and you won like something big, you'd say, for instance, in this case, you won a championship, right? I'm not saying you should be going around like, look at me, look at what I've done and cut a WWE promo. What I am saying is that you should be very proud of that because not many people have done that. And what you've done is something that required commitment, required dedication, required perseverance, required losing and failing many, 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 many times. Excuse me. And when you're sitting here and able to appreciate and recognize that instead of, you know, climb that mountain and quickly look at the next one to climb or downplay it as if it isn't a big deal, you're not showing a very good example for those that are striving to do that as well. So we've been conditioned to not do that because now people call us conceited or call us cocky, but we should be able to celebrate our wins. Listen, when we're coming up on the Super Bowl. It might be happening this week when you see this. This time it'll be in 2 weeks. Or this weekend, I don't know. When we're coming up on the Super Bowl, one of these teams, whether it be the Seahawks or whether it be the Rams, I think. Yeah, Rams. One of these teams are going to win that game, and these teams are going to have a full-on parade for them in their city. They're going to be celebrated. They're going to be appreciated. They're going to be acknowledged. Well, why can't we celebrate our wins when we hit that weight that we've been trying to get down to or get up to? Or why can't we celebrate our wins when we got that job promotion or we turned around and we started a business or anything like that, or we started a gym and helped massive lives? We should be able to celebrate our wins. And when people don't have that, right, when they're doing all the things wrong or all the things with, you know, a different kind of intentions, when they see people winning and they see people successful and they see people owning it, they feel small, they feel insecure. And that's where this hate comes from, right? The hate comes from a projection. On top of majority of the time, it's just shit that they just say out of their mouth when they're drunk or when they just don't have anything better to do. Back in the day, right? Back in the day, and there's a guy that I'm thinking about right now, fits this mold so much. Back in the day, before you had the internet, what you had was you had people that would get on the phone with you, right? If they had a problem with you or they were over a friend's house. See, we used to hang out. We'd have to go outside and go over friends' houses. And we actually had to interact and pay attention. We didn't have any phones to distract us or anything. Long time ago, right? Long time ago. And what happened is when you're in school, when you're in high school, you got a buddy. He's talking to some chick and some chick's boyfriend's mad at him. And now they're his friends and your friends are all on the phone and stuff like that. And you always got this one guy that's going to do everything in the world. They're going to do this to you. They're going to beat you up. They're going to say this. You're a bitch. You're all this. They can say all these names, right? And then you see this guy, and it's the exact opposite of how they acted, right? And I experience that on an everyday basis, right? I experience that. I experience people talk shit on the internet in my own hometown. I see these people and they're quiet as church mice, right? And that would bother me had I not been prepared for that type of lifestyle back in my previous life when, I was hood rich and I've experienced all this hate. But now it doesn't bother me at all because I never said I was going to do anything to anybody, right? I don't even bait into it. I might be playful. I might promote a fight. I might have some fun, with somebody, or I might have to correct people like I did a few champ talks ago and just remind people of the bullshit. Because the unfortunate part is if you tell a lie often enough and tell it enough, people will think it's true. And in our world, right, in our combat sports world, this is what's funny. Is we have such a revolving door of people, right? Out of, let's say you sign up 100 people, 10 are going to stay in 3 years, right? Majority of those 100 people are going to be gone in your first year, right? Maybe even in your first 6 months, to be honest with you. And then after that, very rarely do many of them stay. So you have a revolving door of brand new students and brand new faces that you get to connect with and get to meet and get to talk. And as these gym owners who like to be idol worshipped and they like to be they never had that in their lives, you know what I mean? And I'm talking to many of them, not just the two here. There's a lot of gyms that are like this. A lot of people in leadership, not just in the gym industry, are like this. These guys and gals, they thrive off that, and they want to stay relevant. They want to stay in the mix and they want to relive their glory days. So they have a chance to retell all the lies and things that not only did they start off with, but grows, right? Because once you don't like somebody or once you experience hate, right? Or once you're hating on somebody, that just grows. And it's no different than like a cancer coming into an organization where somebody's disgruntled, an employee's disgruntled, right? And they're mad at the boss because of this, and this. And you're minding your business, doing your own thing, doing your work, and that person just complains every chance they get. And that person's got a problem every chance they get. And even when that person doesn't have a problem, they still kind of, talk about how things should be and how things aren't fair and what this and what that is. And then you experience an unfortunate event at your job or wherever. And then all of a sudden your mind is starting to feed into and eat some of that negativity. And now you're starting to think, well, shit, maybe that's right. Maybe this guy isn't a good boss. Maybe this organization isn't great for me. And the next thing you know, you both are getting fired and you can't find no work. And you're like, what the fuck did I do? I just lost a really big job, a good job because this guy was talking my ear off. It's the same thing with what these leadership guys and gym owners do, right? They just retell the stories and they find more and more things that reaffirm why they're angry and why they're mad and why it's the big bad wolf. And you just can't play into it. That's the thing. You just can't play into it, especially on social media, especially if you're trying to be a leader or run a business. You see, social media, in my opinion, right, is the decline of human civilization. I'll be 100% honest with it, excuse me. Social media is the decline of human civilization. It has ruined and messed up so many things. On the flip side, there's a lot of good things that happen on social media. And if you have a business and you're trying to be successful, you need social media to do so, right? You need social media to be able to market yourself, build your brands and things like that. And we are in a day and age where with AI coming and all these other things, it's getting more and more and more prevalent and needed to build your own brands, right? So as much as it's a bad thing, it's a good thing as well. And, when it comes to, for me with social media, I'm not going to market myself in a negative manner. We got a, it's called, I think it's either Salisbury or Eastern Shore Locals, right? And it's a locals group where people go and they ask for recommendation. I'm sure every town has it on Facebook. And what happens is like you get these recommendations for martial arts schools. The next thing you know, it's like flooded with recommendations. And then it starts going biting at each other, right? I never comment on any of this stuff. First of all, we sign up. So we did last year, I think we did 281. We had 281 trial classes. My numbers are a little bit off. And I think we signed up 243 people, which was like a 77, 80% closing ratio, which is insane in the combat sports world, especially in our demographic here. So I don't have time to cherry pick people online and go after that. Plus, I have suspicion that a lot of times these are plants anyway, and people are just like randomly fake. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm looking for recommendations. As I say, like, oh yeah, well, we pointed direction, and that's fine. If that's how you have to market your business, I'm not gonna be mad about that. Do whatever you find necessary. It's not my style, But what does happen is when you bait into the hate, like these gym owners have, right? Then what happens? It trickles down to the students, right? And now the students are starting to backbite. I had one of my guys just today. Someone's getting screenshots. Somebody's sending me what he's saying. And I'm like, dude, I got to mess with him. So if you want to be a part of our team, you can't say this shit again, right? This is not the play. And I'm not trying to air this guy out. He's so passionate and so protective of what he's getting from our culture. He feels a need to fight. And he doesn't like how all the bait and stuff like that. I've always told all my coaches, if you say anything online, you're fired, right? We're not doing the online bullshit, right? But that's where it trickles down. And that's a direct correlation of the leadership in our area, where these gym owners are so behind on the times, right? They're still looking at me, hey, we do this, I do that. They're not understanding that the industry in a whole has changed. And they won't, because, you know what I mean? I don't think they've understood that you have to leave Salisbury, Maryland, the peninsula, and invest in yourself in finding other ways to do business and finding other ways to keep up with the industry trends. I've had one of the big benefits of having really great mentors as the successful guys that I just mentioned, who have helped me along the way understand the bigger side of business and not the bigger side of my ego, right? But when you deal with this hate, you've got to rise above it and understand that you're playing the long game, and nothing changes. Like, nothing ever changes, right? Anything anyone's ever said has never, ever affected me unless I allowed it to affect me, unless I allowed it to come into play. Does it mean it doesn't bother me? It bothers the shit out of me, right? I want to do something to all these guys. Like, I mean, who wouldn't, right? Like, it's one thing, like, if you're getting hated on by people you don't know, right? You could just not read the comments, right? But it's another thing when you know these guys and gals and know who they are and who they particularly aren't, and know all their deep, dark secrets that they don't tell anybody about, that is not public knowledge. Like, mine is public knowledge. You know all the stuff about me. I've been vocal about all my bullshit that I've done and things that I've went through. And that's helped me become a better human, because I'm vulnerable with you guys. I'm open with you guys. I'm like, hey, this is my authentic self, the good, the bad, and everything in between. And I'm working on getting better every single day. But for those that are experiencing this kind of fuckery and jealousy and all that, you've got to be able to understand that they are hating up, not hating down. No one ever is going to hate down. All the successful people that I've ever been encountered with have never hated down. They've always wanted to lift me up, wanted to give me peeks behind the curtain, wanted to give me, within, as long as I earn my right, the keys to the city so that I can go and become even more successful. And what'll happen is you might think that sometimes these people that are hating on you are above you, until you get enough experience and get into the thick of things and realize, no, they're just frauds. They're just facades. They're not really making the money they say they're making. They're not as successful. They're not making, they're not as happy as they claim to be. You know what I mean? They're whatever have you. They've got deep, dark skeletons in their closet that they don't want to let anybody know about. And it definitely is something that I find myself getting pulled into and pulled out, because, again, I'm not from an era where I talk tough on the telephone, and when you saw me, then all of a sudden I didn't want no problems. I'm from an era where, you stood on business, right? I think about, like, particularly, and I'm not going to air these guys out because I've said enough, but I think about particularly, like, these guys have never went to war. They don't know what a real war is all about. They don't know and I'm not talking about, like, our troops who serve. I'm talking about, like, you've never had to worry about fighting for your life. You've never been behind a building and people try to rob you and take something from you and they jump you and you're fighting for your life to survive, right? That's a real thing. Or, you're, having people trying to run down on you and catch you slipping and use guns and things on you. And I'm not saying they should be, okay? I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody, because that's a fucking crazy lifestyle, even when I repeat it to you guys. But what I am saying is people that really, truly understand violence, really, truly have been in violent worlds, want no parts of violence. We know what it's all about, right? We know that violence equals nothing good. You know what I mean? And the more that you promote that kind of leadership and that tough talk, the more that your talks and your ideology trickles down to the people that you're leading. And then what happens is like I had with this kid that, that I had to get, message today, is now you got people fighting for people and reasons they don't even know why they're fighting. And it's kind of similar to, like, what's going on in the country right now. You got people that are so protective of their place that they get so much from, and they don't like all the shit talking, that they're out here ready to throw everything away that they've worked so hard for, just to prove a point that, my coach ain't no bitch, or my school ain't this, or my school ain't that. And it's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. But it's not it is responsibility on the people that do it, but it's not their fault. It's the leadership's fault. It's the leadership's fault. You're gonna see a direct impact of how your people act by the way that you lead every time. And if your culture is built on that, your culture's not going to grow. And that's why these guys, might at best have 50 students each gym. We're pushing 400. These guys have been in business or been in the martial arts longer than I have. You know what I mean? And here I've surpassed them in many ways in multiple different facets. And this isn't me trying to flex. It's just the facts. You can check the facts. You can look at the numbers. One of these guys is losing their gym. He's having a hard time keeping his gym open. You know what I mean? The other guy is having a hard time keeping relevance. And that's the competition that's hating on me. And I'm supposed to be upset about that? I'm supposed to bait into that? I would love to see these guys succeed. I can't really do it for them at this point, but I would love to see these guys succeed. Offer them to come on my podcast. Let's talk it out. Let's hash it out. But again, it's that perception that's built in their minds where they just can't, they can't see past it. And when that trickles down into the students and when that trickles down into the people, now you have real problems. You know what I mean? So, I think it's worth noting that your leadership is going to affect more people by you just being the person that you're supposed to be. It doesn't mean you shouldn't get frustrated. Doesn't mean it shouldn't bother you, but you can't entertain it, because if you do entertain it, the people that you're leading are going to follow suit. And the last thing I've ever wanted for anybody to do in combat sports was get fighting over this gym beefs and bullshit like that, or any business for that matter. Like, I came from that world. I came from that. I was the only white guy, you know what I mean, in the neighborhoods, in the groups, you know what I mean? I've had my share of having to stick up for myself or having to prove myself or having to, you know what I mean? That was a long time ago, but that's kind of where we were at then, you know what I mean? I just loved hip hop and I was poor, but it just was what it was, and I've seen a lot of hate in those neighborhoods and those worlds. And I've seen a lot of people mad and jealous, and I've seen a lot of lives lost, whether they've been murdered, whether they overdosed, whether they were going to prison, you know what I mean? Whether they just gave up on life. I've seen a lot of death in my life, a lot more than one should, especially not being, a public servant or, in the military or something like that, which, God bless them. And my heart pours out to them, but I've seen a lot of unfortunate circumstances ruin lives. And I have experience in that world. And that's what I'm seeing now. I'm seeing these students want to, start talking shit, acting like this and getting all mad, defend their gym. And I understand, but it's not the play. It's not the play. But as a business owner and as a leader, I know we're talking about my industry. This applies to everyone. This applies. And the more that you put yourself out there and the more that you become a voice in the community and a voice and a leader, the more people are designed to tear you down. Also, they just found out like 50% of the online comments and online trolls are bots. You know what I mean? 50% of them. You know what I mean? And then the other trolls and online comments, you might have a black belt in your Twitter fingers, but you have a white belt in being real and and keeping your word. And, to me, again, I love social media. I use it. I think it's also the decline. It's not real, guys. It's not real. Being your authentic self is more real than anything. And I don't think that the people that hate on me are that bad of people, right? I don't think I think they care about their students. I think they love what they do. I think they're passionate about their crafts. I think in their minds, they're really being good people, but there's levels to it. There's levels to being a good person and a good leader. You know what I mean? There's a difference between being a good person and a good leader, I should say. Being a good person when the cameras are on are great, but it's when the cameras are off or it's when nobody's watching. That's what makes the biggest difference. And leadership is fucking hard. Leadership is fucking hard. It is a hard thing to do. It's a hard way to be, because you have to always think about every single other person, and every single thing you do is going to affect how other people eat, how other people live, how their safeties, everything. So, you got to understand that the hate isn't real. People are all full of fluff. They talk, but they don't bite. And I'm not saying that there aren't some bad things out there and bad people out there, but the more you feed that fire with logs, the bigger it gets. And another thing that I don't do is I don't give anybody business. This is the funny part about it, right? I've gotten more followers and signups directly from these other competitors mentioning my name in my gym than I have without it. You know what I mean? So I don't mention these guys. I don't say anything about it. You know what I mean? When we see each other in public, it's a completely different attitude. We had an event this past weekend, right? This one guy says he's going to do this and do that to me all the time. We had a little moment. Locked eyes, face to face. He said another, it didn't say a word. If I said I was going to do something to you, I'm going to say something. I'm going to do something. Didn't say a word, right? And I'm glad he didn't. I don't want that trouble there. I don't want to make this about me and him and all that. But I also didn't say anything about nobody. I said facts and I said who people really are. You know what I mean? The other guys, nothing. One on one, you make eye contact with me. You know what I mean? But you all want to do this, do that, and act like this. It's not real, guys. You got to understand this stuff is not real. It's not worth it. And if you're trying to do great things, then this is a part of it. Having this happen is a part of it. What will happen is when I accomplish my goals, and when I achieve the things that I'm destined to and I'm on track to, all this stuff will be forgotten. Everybody, here's what they do. They cheer you in the beginning, right? Then once you reach a little bit of success, they start to hate on you and tell you, you're doing everything wrong, ridicule you. Then all of a sudden, you start getting a little bit more successful, you know what I mean? And then you come back and then they want to be your best friend. They want to say, I always knew you could do it. I was always having your back. I was always supporting you. So, and if it happens, it happens. If it's done, done. Either way, I'm going to keep fulfilling my life's purpose and my mission and my responsibility to the people that I employ, to the people that I'm leading, to the people that I'm, helping affect lives, to you guys who, tune into Champ Talk and listen to this. I'm going to continue to fulfill my mission because that's my calling. My calling isn't to come out here and worry about the hate, but I get a lot of it. I've gotten hated more than any other person in my industry on the Eastern Shore in a more consistent time. And nobody that I know of on the Eastern Shore would be able to handle the hate that I do, the way that I do. Doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. Just means that I understand that it's all bullshit. And it's not affecting my pockets. As a matter of fact, it's helping my pockets in some degree. It's not hurting my culture. It's not hurting what we do. We've just got a title shot that we just got offered that we're accepting. We've got 2 pro fighters fighting this month. You know what I mean? We got another title shot next month. We've got a tournament next month. Then we got another card where we're going to have 4 or 5 fighters on that. They're not, with us in our area, that's a lot. You know what I mean? And it's funny. It's funny because the other gyms in the area who I have personal relationships with, they're all doing very well for themselves. They understand the art of martial arts mindset. They understand how to treat people good. They share that ideology, and they congratulate me on my success. I congratulate them. We shake hands. We train together. We have good vibes. We partner. We do all these things together. But the ones that are struggling to have that success, they're the ones that are maddest. So I don't sit here and take stuff lying down. I'm not passive like that, but I'm also not stupid enough to blow everything that I have for some people that are just all bark and no bite. And that's what they're supposed to do. And again, whatever you are going to do in life, you're going to have that happen. If you go after greatness and go after big things, it's going to happen and it's okay. And one other point, the other side of it, sometimes the haters are right. There are times where when you filter through all the bullshit and all the fluff, there are things that you need to make corrections on. The market will tell you. Some things that people that have hated on me about, I was like, you know what? That's a very good point. I can change that. I can correct that. So it's not always a negative. I mean, I know it doesn't feel comfortable, and I know it's not always a negative, right? There are times that when you hear this kind of ridicule and hate, they got a point. Let me hear them out. I think there's a place for it all. So if you gotten value from this and you know somebody that would, share it to them. If they're experiencing some hate or whatever, give them my perspective. Maybe it'll help them out a little bit. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but we do appreciate you guys tuning in to Champ Talk every week. I appreciate all the love and all the messages that I get. I appreciate it. Please share all the shares. Please share this episode. Please like and subscribe to the channels. And again, if you have time, if you feel kind, shoot me a review, you know what I mean? Letting me know, how you feel. We always want to improve and we always want to deliver on more. Until next time, guys, what are you doing today to become a champion?